Ramadan and the implications and how they will differ from last year is Ahmet Keskin from the AIS, which is the Australian Intercultural Society, all part of, is it Dialogue Australia?
Dialogue Institute of Australia.
Dialogue Institute of Australia. Welcome. A lot of challenges last year for the community in this country. We saw mosques close, there were so many impositions made. Much of Ramadan was virtually put on hold or went remote or went via Zoom. And of course, a number of your programs that you had been preparing for, and for quite some time, you had to either do it via Zoom or hold it back for some other time. But I know from experience that you also have a lot of international guests who fly in. They are treated royally and looked after as you take them around Australia. Then you take them across to exotic locales like New Zealand before you give them an opportunity to get back to their home, and normally it's either Europe or it's the United States. Much of all of that, I would have thought, was canned last year. So are things looking any better this year? Because as we've just said, last year was really bleak.
Yeah, so like you said, last year, a lot of our programs were online, or pretty much all our programs were going online because of the COVID situation. And it impacted every faith community. We saw Easter online, we saw Passover, Yom Kippur, and a lot of them all online, particularly for those who were living in Melbourne, who were impacted the most. So similarly, our busiest time of the year in terms of the most socially active time of the year, and that's Ramadan period for us, which this year will be starting on the 12th of April and conclude on the 12th of May, is a time where we break the fast with our friends.
So iftar, the fabulous iftars that we've become very accustomed to over the last 10, 15, 20 years, so ever since you started the programs of the AIS and the Dialogue Institute of Australia. It's almost 21 years, huh?
Correct, yeah. This year we'll be celebrating our 21st year of existence. So we're very fortunate that we've been around. And we know that on this journey, it's not just the people within the AIS, it's our friends, it's our supporters, it's people within the community who've endorsed the work that we do, the messaging, because we're all about promoting goodwill and social cohesion.
Also building bridges between the various communities. The thing that I want to know is those iftars that had become a very big part of your yearly Ramadan experiences, an opportunity to showcase and open homes and bring people in and show them that this is your home, this is your life. Will you be able to do that sort of thing again, or are you still bound by a host of restrictions that have been imposed by government?
We're hoping to open our homes this year to our friends and our guests so that they can come in and share a cultural experience with the host family, have those conversations, get to know one another, and see that there are far more commonalities than there are differences. So that's in the works right now, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get invites out to our friends over the next coming week or so. Okay,
so talk to me about Ramadan. How do you imagine Ramadan? That we're talking the 4th of April this year?
12th of April this year.
12th of April commences. This year, okay. So 12th of April this year, the Easter is on the 4th of April, so a very busy period for communities right across the country, and especially in Victoria. Will the mosques be open, do we know?
At this stage they will be open from what we know. So another important feature, or a separate feature in Ramadan, is that there are evening night prayers for the Muslim community, and that's a socially busy time. There is obviously the spiritual element, but it's also an opportunity for people to congregate and perform their prayers in that communal atmosphere. And similarly with the iftar dinner, that's also a communal activity where we do see people gather around the table. And traditionally in the Muslim community, Muslims invite other Muslims, or those who are less fortunate, but in a well-to-do country like Australia, the tradition is kept alive by inviting other people who are fasting. But the AIS and our partner organisations around Australia are inviting our friends to share that meal, break the fast together. And
one of the things that's also been a very big part of your calendar across Australia and across Australasia have been the iftars, the Parliamentary Iftars. Whether it was Queensland, whether it was WA, whether it was New Zealand, that's become almost a very special part of the year. Are we still going to see the reintroduction of these iftars, or is that still an area that you have to wait on?
No, this year we'll be planning in Victoria. The Australian Intercultural
Wow.
Society has already slotted that date in. We've got that booked in, and all our sister organisations across Australia are also working with their local communities to book in the dates to do their main Parliament. Well, we call it Parliament Iftar, but their main Iftar dinner. Yeah.
I know from experience the New South Wales Parliamentary Iftar is a huge affair.
Yeah.
It's been run enormously successfully for the better part of the last decade.
Yes.
And the numbers have grown and grown each year, which is tremendously encouraging. And I also know that Canberra's involved, I know Adelaide, I know Perth, I know Brisbane's involved. You leave no one, and then of course you cross the ditch, and you also have an opportunity to do it in Auckland and Wellington. Is that correct?
That's correct. So our cousins across the ditch are also involved in these festivities.
Yep.
And like I said, we're looking to reach out to invite new friends as well as our old friends to come along and share that experience with us.
The community and the relationship you have with New Zealand is very special, isn't it?
It certainly is. There's a lot of commonalities between our two nations. There's an underlying friendship and goodwill,
Okay.
and an underlying culture that binds the two nations.
They're a small community, but they're very agile. They do some tremendous work. We should also add that I started the conversation by saying COVID knocked us around and knocked you around and knocked so many people around in so many different endeavours. But it also gave us a chance to introduce technology for the first time. And we saw some people in the community actually embrace it in a way they hadn't thought was possible. Is that fair?
That would be spot on, because it sort of revolutionised the way we conduct our business and do our thinking. So we're used to meeting in person. Well, our work is all about bringing people together. So although it impacted our core business, our core way of doing our work, but using technology, we were still able to bring people together, still able to open channels, build bridges online.
And carry on discussion.
That's right, carry on the conversation online.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Ahmet, just as we wrap this up, just a reminder, we give people an opportunity to understand that this is a special time in the Muslim community, and for the AIS and Dialogue Institute of Australia, I suppose this is an opportunity for you to provide the perfect invitation.
Absolutely. I mean, the Australian Intercultural Society, our partner organisations across the nation, Affinity Intercultural Foundation in New South Wales, the Queensland Intercultural Centre in Queensland, McGuess in South Australia,
Yes.
Intercultural Harmony Society in WA, and our friends across the ditch, the Pearl of Islands Foundation in New Zealand, are all hosting Ramadan Iftar programs. They're all available on their website. Feel free to ask for an invitation and invite yourself to a meal and enjoy in the generosity of this month of Ramadan.
I was just going to say, never let it be said you haven't been invited. Ahmet Keskin providing the invitation for just about everyone. Look, you do some tremendous work. Keep doing it, and again, best wishes to the extended family.
Thank you very much.